weighing in on Durham's budget, protecting your investment in the city's streets, and possible changes for some of Durham's parks. We invite you to join us now as we take you inside City Hall this week. Hello, I'm Amy Blaylock. Welcome to City Hall this week, dedicated to keeping you informed about what's going on inside Durham City Hall. The development of the city's 2011-2012 budget is well underway, forcing the administration and elected leaders to closely examine how taxpayer money is spent during these difficult economic times. As part of that process, they've been asking for input from you. And many of you answered that request during this March 7th public hearing. This was the first of two such hearings to be held on the budget. The second public hearing will be held on the proposed budget on June 6th. If you weren't able to attend the public hearing, you still have a chance to make sure your voice is heard on this year's budget during the two remaining Coffee with Council sessions. Those will be held on Saturday, March 12th at the Lyon Park Community Family Life and Recreation Center from 10 a.m. until noon, and Monday, March 14th at the Durham County School Resource Center from 6 until 8:30 p.m. The budget will be adopted in June. Making sure next year's budget aligns with Durham's strategic plan is a top priority for the city administration. Several dozen residents got a chance to receive a detailed look at the purpose and goals of the strategic plan during a community engagement workshop on February 26th.
Strategic plan really it will be a tool to help align the entire organization. It will align with the budget. It will help us set priorities for the future. The strategic plan is really a roadmap of sorts. It tells you where you are in the organization, where the organization is going, and how you get there. So it gives you that structure that's needed. And most high-performing organizations have a strategic plan in place, whether it's a public sector or private sector.
In order to report to residents on the plan, a new performance management system will offer updates on how the city is achieving its goals and initiatives.
The performance management software is a tool that will enable the staff to effectively manage our strategic plan, as well as give the citizens effective reporting. They will be able to see the information in a way that's more clearly understood, such as charts, graphs, dashboards.
As part of the workshop, residents got to weigh in on what type of information they want to receive through the reporting program and how they want it presented.
The purpose of today's workshop was to solicit input from the citizens on how they want to see the information. We want to make sure it's giving them what they want to see and how they want to see it. And it was a day where we got great input, and I think we can do everything that we heard that they wanted.
Those who attended say the new software will allow for greater transparency of the city's operations, as well as more resident input.
I think for longer term sustainability that the city has done an overall really good job of formulating the development program, but the city has an overall bigger picture and the community has smaller little bits and pieces of it, so that the gaps sometimes that exist within systems, those gaps seem to close a bit when you have citizen input, you have people taking ownership of the process, and they see certain facets of the community that sometimes the larger community government can't see. And so I think that's leads to longer term sustainability and citizenry input, and people take ownership of this whole process, so it leads them to be more content in their communities, in their neighborhoods. So,
an important part of kind of understanding how the strategic plan works is understanding how we're going to actually make sure we're getting there, and so I think it's important for citizens to be able to know what we're going to use to measure our progress towards these goals, and also then to be able to actually access this data and go through it and see whether we are actually making that progress.
The new reporting management system is expected to go live later this summer. Repair work on some of the city's worst streets is expected to begin later this spring. And when it does, there will be an independent materials testing firm making sure the work is done right. The City Council approved a $99,000 contract to have quality assurance testing performed for the project, a necessary investment according to city staff.
Quality assurance testing is the method by which we ensure that the concrete and asphalt that's used on the city streets meets specifications. And you might ask, what specifications are those? And it really starts very earlier in our projects. This book is the State of North Carolina Department of Transportation specifications for the installation of paving, concrete, and piping associated with roadways. And within this book, there's an extensive set of specifications that describe how things are to be installed and tested. And we move from that book into this book, which is our contract documents for our contracts. And in here, the DOT specifications are paraphrased and repeated. And this is the Bible by which our testing is done on our city projects.
The contract involves conducting quality assurance asphalt testing on 10% of the contractor's asphalt for each of the 4 2011 street repaving projects.
Asphalt is a mixture of aggregate, and aggregate is described as sand and stone, as well as tar, in a very specific recipe that's called a job mix formula. It's kind of like a recipe for a cake. And the recipe describes, or job mix formula describes, how much of each ingredient goes into the job mix formula. These job mix formulas are approved before any work is done out in the field, and they're unique to a asphalt plant, and they're unique to the aggregate that the asphalt plant is using. So if an asphalt plant changes an aggregate source, they need a different job mix formula. So way before any paving happens at all, these job mix formulas are submitted to the city staff or consultants and reviewed to make sure that they meet the intent of what the application is. And there's several different applications of asphalt. So there might be as many as 4 or 5 different specific asphalt products that we use in the field. So that's the very first step, is to receive the job mix formulas, review them, make sure that they're correct and they meet the application. Then when paving begins and the asphalt trucks show up at the job site, our inspections team, one of the very first things they do is take a ticket from the truck driver that shows the job mix formula and the plant that it came from, and they make sure that those 2 items on this ticket that the driver presents are approved, because it could be that the driver showed up at the wrong location. We've had that happen before, and it was a job mix formula for somebody else. So we make sure that those 2 things are correct. And then we take the temperature of the asphalt. Asphalt is really kind of a funny thing in that it has to be between 275 and 315 degrees when it arrives at the job site. Otherwise, we don't get adequate compaction. It doesn't go down right. So if it's not in that temperature range, or the job mix formula is not correct, then the truck is sent back to the plant from where it came from, and another truck takes its place, and asphalt production continues. So from that point on, the asphalt's put into a hopper. It's spread out over the pavement, as many of us have seen asphalt working. And our inspectors measure the thickness of the application. They make sure that before the asphalt goes down, the roadway is tacked. And there's a whole visual inspection process that happens as the machinery is putting it down. The asphalt is then rolled, and that rolling compacts it, makes the surface hard so we can then drive on it. And the very last thing that's done in the process is I have an asphalt core here that the quality assurance people will then go along the roadway, and they use a circular drill, and they take these cores out of the asphalt. You might see them if you're driving down the roadway someday. And the core is taken back to the laboratory, where the core is analyzed to make sure that the aggregate mix is correct, it's got the right amount of asphalt component in here, and that the compaction is correct in the roadway. There's other methods of measuring compaction, such as a nuclear densometer and some other methods that are not as invasive as the cores, but that kind of describes overall the asphalt testing process.
If problems are found when or after the asphalt has been poured, efforts are made to fix it in the field. But if that can't be done, the contractor is asked to rip up the problem areas and start again. To find out more about the 2011 street repaving projects, visit DurhamOperationGreenlight.org. Construction is set to begin this month on City Hall Plaza's Street Improvements Project.
Public Works has been tasked with taking care of an issue, which is basically accessibility into City Hall. We'll be doing work on City Hall Plaza, which is the street that's immediately in front of the City Hall main entrance. As we do this project, we're attempting to create an accessible route that takes you from the parking lot into the front door. We got to thinking about we're having to tear up the street to do this work, and it would be a good time to put in some of these streetscaping elements that you see in the other parts of downtown.
The project will include paving, curb and gutter, storm drainage, water line installation, and much more.
You'll see pavers as part of the sidewalk. You'll see some of the decorative lamps that are along the streets to illuminate the street. There'll be some additional landscaping that'll be incorporated.
Of course, a project like this will mean some inconvenience around City Hall, but entrance into the building will always be accessible. The project is expected to take 4 months. Portions of 5 streets throughout the city will soon be gaining sidewalks. The $498,000 sidewalk construction project allows for new sidewalks to be built for parts of Wilderness Road, Hunt Street, Markham Avenue, Lakewood Avenue, and Club Boulevard. The Wilderness sidewalk stems from a resident petition. The Hunt sidewalk is being built in support of the skate park, and the remaining sidewalks are the next in order of priority from the Durham Walks pedestrian plan. After this project, there will be $1.5 million remaining in bond funding for new sidewalk construction and repair, as well as curb ramp construction. The future of the area along Fayetteville Street near NC Central is under review. Find out how zoning and land use updates may affect this growing and historic area when City Hall This Week continues.
Mom!
What?
Can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
This is Public Enemy #1. It goes by many aliases and can be found in food scraps, sauces, and even dairy products. The crime? Overflowing sanitary sewers, damaging homes, and exposing you to potentially harmful disease-causing organisms. How can you help? Never pour grease down sinks or toilets. Put food scraps into the trash. And dispose of grease responsibly or recycle at your local disposal center. Don't let this happen in Durham. For more information, visit the City of Durham website at durhamnc.gov.
How you feel? How you feel?
I'm feeling good. Spin me, spin me.
Got you.
Oh, goodness.